Welcome back, fellow scrubs. This is Mark D. Wiz, back with Pocket Fighter EX on a Monday, as per usual, at our new time, at 8, which had a 1-minute delay. I was trying to reinstall stream labels as it uninstalled itself on me. That was great. So, anyway, so this is Pocket Fighter EX. It is not affiliated with Capcom or SNK or anything like that, just a fan game, a community game, and with that out of the way, we'll get right into it. And my Winamp thing's not working. Of course it's not. I don't know. Oh, hey! A host! Well, thank you very much. The Jet Paradox. Alright, you can see the title of the songs rolling by. So, Pocket Fighter EX, what has changed since the last time? Actually, a good question, I'm not sure I remember. Man, what did we do last time? I showed off the new boxes in the editor. I think, honestly, it was just like optimizations more into the fighter's code. So the fighter code actually probably should I can get to it. Oh boy. Alright. Here. I went through 9,600 and some lines of code. And I optimized, I cut some stuff out, I cut things down, we're down to 8,900. It was quite a process, but all that was sort of a precursor to getting save states working here. There's still a lot of stuff I want to change as far as the fighter's core code goes. And like there are other code, there's different components that handle specific character things. So Terry specific things and Ken specific things, like controlling Terry's hat and shit like that. That's all controlled with their own specific one. And that is Terry fighter behavior. Spelled with a U, because everything in Unity is Europe English. So they use behavior instead of behavior. So I just kept it the same. Anyway, so what I'd like to focus on today is kind of what we were in the middle of doing last week. And how do we get collisions that work with GGPO in Unity? Because apparently Unity doesn't want to do them the way that I want to do them, or the way that GGPO wants to do them. So how does that work? And where do we even start? Now, I've made a lot of changes to the existing system to prepare for this. However, there's a lot of general concepts that might be useful. Hey! Dragon X-Guard, or Xrd, sorry. X-Guard. Oh my god, Xrd. I got the gear. Thanks for the follow. So how do we do collisions? Well, very, very basics, as you might guess. Right here, you got a character body box, or we would sometimes call the hurt box of the character, and then when you've got a red hitbox overlaps it, well, then this guy gets hurt, right? That's the basic shit. Anytime, it's better than people just spelling out XRD. Fair enough. So obviously you can see the hitboxes of Pocket Fighter EX even in the builds that are public. So you can slow it down. There's the hitbox, the red one that hits something. The green hurt box that gets hurt by a hit. Now the purple is a push box, or a body box, whatever you want to call it. I happen to call it body space, because it denotes the space of the body. So that's when two characters come into contact with each other, and one gets pushed away, or if one jumps on the other, and it redoes their positioning so that they're not on top of each other. Now there's a lot of different boxes. Actually, Ken's got one that the other characters don't have. I can show that one. Alright, right here. This white box. What the hell is that? It's not hurting Terry, but watch what happens. See Terry getting pulled in? It's a pull box, so it creates that vacuum effect that you see on Ken. Or that you see on Terry when Ken does his Shinryuken. It pulls him in. So that vacuum effect is actually a hitbox. That's so that it pulls them back in and the move can connect easier. So you can... I can't do it with this controller. No, that's not gonna work. No, that's not gonna work. If I do... Oh my god, I hate this controller. I can't even hit up there. It didn't work. If you do it fast enough and you get close enough, you can actually pull them back in and get hurt there. Nah, I guess it's too far away. I can't do it on that controller. But there's some combos that wouldn't be possible without the vacuum effect, because it pulls Terry back in, even if they get knocked away a little bit. So that's very helpful in that regard. So he has a pull box. And then people like Gil, well, I don't know if it's an actual hitbox or not, but the opposite of pushing away. When Gil does his resurrection, he pushes you away. So that's like, he probably has a push box in that regard. Some people call the purple ones push boxes, because they push each other away, but I called them body space, so there's no industry standard. It's just whatever the hell you want to call them, given what their functionality is. So it's just is what it is. There's also projectiles have a slightly different hitbox. Do anything today? There we are. So they're orange, and they're specifically different because they don't connect the same way that physical hits connect. There's a difference between them. And probably the best example of that is for you. He's got a different kind of box. Been following the game for a while, a bit before Terry came out. Made the comparison video of Ken from 2.2 to 3.0. Been a blast with Terry though. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that. It's about to get a whole lot more interesting once you get GGPO done. Alright, so we're going to put Ken to do an attack on Waco. Probably went too quick. Yeah. It went too quick. He was going to get hit in the face. Yeah. Well, just to show the box. Oh, it came out buffered. Oh my god, I couldn't pause it. I can't do it. It's too fast. There we go. So this yellow box is basically the parry box, or a counter box, I call them in the code. So if any physical attack hits the counter box, that it will cause Ryu to do the parry. If any projectile hit hits Ryu while he's doing the counter box, or while the counter box is active, nothing will happen. Ryu will get hit and he will not parry the projectile. And so that's how that works. I could make it parry the projectile if I wanted to, but it's specifically set not to in that case. And you're probably wondering, well, what the hell's the blue box then? Because it's essentially a counter super. It works kind of like, if you remember in Street Fighter 4, Fei Long and Cammy have a counter super. They can be grabbed out of it, but they can't. If you try to hit them, they'll counter you, but you can grab them or hit them with a projectile. This blue box denotes that this hurt box can be grabbed, but it cannot be hit. So there's slightly different colors here, and there's more than you might realize. So here, this darker green, or more, I don't know, tealish green, is a normal hurt box in Pocket Fighter EX. But this more foresty lime green is a hurt box that cannot be grabbed. So the tealish one can be grabbed. The lime one cannot be grabbed. If you don't want people to be able to grab the arm in the attack, you want them to have to be close enough to grab the body. So that you can't just grab like legs that are thrown out at you. Because number one, it looks really weird. Number two, it is a very strange dynamic to the game. At one point, I did not have that distinction, and it was very strange indeed. Let's see. Dragon Xrd. Dragon Xrd says, yeah, played it with friends on Parsec. Didn't go so smooth. Hype for GGPO. Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be most people's experience with the game on Parsec, which is unfortunate, but it's just, the internet's just not to the point where that's going to work right for a lot of people. Like, if you got Google Net, sure, then have a blast, but, you know, everybody else, myself included, you just can't play that way. I've tried it with, like, people in the next state over, and that's as close as I can get with the current player base, and no, it does not work. And the dogs are going fucking nuts. What you barking for? What are you barking for? She's just barking with the dogs. She hears one dog bark. Any dog in the neighborhood barks, and all of a sudden she's got to bark and go fucking nuts. Yeah, so that's absolutely why we're doing GGPO. It's obviously the best net play solution for fighting games, and there's no reason not to do it, especially since the other alternatives really aren't going to stack up. Which, you know, if they did, it would have been fine, but nope, they don't. So we gotta go through all the work for this, but it'll be definitely worth it. It'll be the best possible netcode we could hope for. So that's kind of a little layout of all the different boxes. There's actually one more I didn't talk about, and the color, don't get confused with the color. It's actually a dark red, but it's only because I kind of ran out of colors. Oh, I guess I'll explain the pink one too, but that one's not really all that important. But this red one is absolutely important. It might be hard to tell the difference between this one and the hitbox, but again, I kind of ran out of colors and I just winged it. But this cannot be hit by physical attacks, it can be hit by physical attacks, but cannot be hit by projectile attacks. So it's basically the classic Tatsu idea of, yeah, the Tatsu goes forward and it will go over a Hadouken. I mean, not all the games do that, but this is one of them that will. Yeah, I can just play it in this mode. That way you can see everything better. It looks so weird like this. Because there's no HUD and all that. But, hey! Deadly Rave Neo. Well, you couldn't get Deadly Neo Rave? You did it backwards? What's up? Thanks for the follow. Wow, it looks so weird like this. It kind of looks like one of those old arcade game presentation modes where they disable all the HUD and stuff. And you can't see anything. Wenzi Ori. He's coming, don't worry. It just takes a long time to do the characters properly. We've been doing sprite sheet work for him. Well, not so much work, but like rips and stuff for him. I can show that. Alright, that's the other project. Let's see here. Where is he? No, not rips. Resources. Fighters. Ori. And so we took all the sprite rips and reorganized them into a sheet. There's still some things there's questions about, but for the most part, most of the stuff's here. That's Rekka's, grabs, all that stuff. So, he's got most of his stuff is ripped out, not too much. There's only a few scraps left here and there, so we did a data rip. I'm the guy asking for Rick off Facebook. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you. So we did a data rip of all Iori's data from all the Pocket games. And then this happened to be his Match in Millennium sheet, which includes everything he's previously had. Whether he uses those sprites in Match in Millennium or not. There are actually a few that are unused. Like the rolling, because there's no rolling in Match in Millennium, but they're still there. So we ripped all those and went through his animations one by one to figure out what frames make up all the animations. And we'll have to get a few extra animations made custom. He doesn't have everything that I want to put in. Match in Millennium was made in 2000? So, like late 99, early 2000. So he's definitely a time capsule version of Iori in that game. He's had some, not a ton of changes, but he's had changes since then. I'd like to do where Flame Iori, or when Iori got back the flames in KOF 14, they also kept the claw slashes. So like when he hit somebody, you could show the claw effect on it. And I thought that was cool. I'd like to do that if we can, just to have a little extra something on top of his attacks. I mean, he's still going to have the flames, but just like in KOF 14, if he hits with the claws, it'll also show the claw thing. That's my goal in terms of enhancing the effects of the game. But I thought that was really cool. It was a good way to mix the two together. And it adds a little something because you see, like when he does his attacks, not so much that one, but like this one, like you go from this pose to this one, and there's not really much. You could follow the motion, but there's not really any effect with it. It's just him swiping his hand. But if you had, I don't know how well it's going to show up because I don't have a lot of colors to choose from here, but let's just say for the sake of argument that it's yellow. You have the claws coming in here, and then you could have, something like that. I mean, obviously it's just a scribble, but it also defines the hitbox more, so you can see where the arc of the swing is coming from. You know what I mean? So you can say, oh yeah, this whole part here, this is the hitbox. So you say the hitbox is, something like this. I probably should do that green or red or something, but you get the idea. And then, then you can have the effect kind of like this at the end, so that, you see the remnants of it. I mean, it's not active here, so there won't be a hitbox here necessarily. But then, you get that kind of, that slash motion going on here. You know what I mean? Whoosh. I think that would be cool. I think that really enhanced Iori's presentation in KOF 14. So I'd like to replicate that. It's going to be a bit of extra work, but it shouldn't be too bad. You just have to be smart about interpreting the motion of the move here. This one's a little easy. This one's a little strange. They actually changed the way the hand works in this move, so I don't know about that. We'll have to figure something out. Because it's supposed to kind of, I guess, come in like that. So he's coming down. And then this is like this, I guess? I don't know. It gets a little strange. They didn't quite do this animation like it was in the big boy games, I guess, if you want to call it that. So we'll see how that works. It shouldn't be too difficult, and I think it'll add a lot to it. So we'll see. Usually the throw forward, they usually have some sort of blood effect or something. You can tell what affects, or what's a slash attack and what's not with Iori, because it's got that little extra hit spark that moves a slash. And, you know, obviously it's got the special sound to it, so that's kind of cool. Like, he doesn't need it for this. I don't know if this would count. Maybe? This is kind of coming down with it. I don't think he actually has that in 14. When he does that move, I mean, I don't think he actually has the paw marks because it's got the flames on it normally. But we'll see. You get the idea. But yeah, I think it'll look neat to have that in there. To make them look a little more updated, a little more like 14. So, hey, we'll see what 15 has too. Who knows what he'll look like in 15. I think that'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, man, I'm hoping that Evil Japan we get some kind of announcement or trailer. I mean, like, we've got the announcement that they're working on it, but like, we knew they were working on it. So I want a little teaser at least, something. I think they're being very careful because of the huge negative reception that 14 got at launch when the graphics were not quite up to snuff, and they got shit on real hard for that. I think they're waiting until they're good and ready to show something this time. They're not gonna fire off half copies. They're gonna make sure that shit looks good. So we'll see. Anyway. Back to the hitbox lesson, I guess. So, whoa, oh my god, that's awful. Oh, sorry about that. I guess it could have been more intense, but... So what do we have to do to make all this stuff work right? Well, let's first address the problem of why doesn't it work with GGPO as is. As is. We have a problem with the rollback system. So if I put Ryu here and I save state, right now we've got it so we can load states back again, and that's cool. Alright, so what if Ryu's about to punch Ken and we save state? Like before, I can do a save state test, or rather a load state test. Game save state system. So I pause the game. The game's runtime is paused right now. And if I do test load, test load, then it'll load the state and you'll see Ken's hit by the attack. Now if we were to do a rollback, we need to rewind the game like I said before. We're on frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and what happens is the rollback call gets called here, and it says, hey, we got to rewind back to frame 1 and then do a different timeline, and then we need to fast forward back to frame 5, and you don't see this happen. You just see, the last frame you see is this 5, and then you see this 5. So it goes back to 1 and does 2, 3, 4 behind the scenes to fast forward to 5. You don't see these frames get re-rendered. It has to keep the same timeline. You have to end up on the other timeline at the same frame. So you could say it fast forwards the game 5 frames. 5 frames processed within the span of 1 frame. You don't see them drawn out. The screen doesn't refresh. It just pops you to 5 on the second timeline. So it's a fast forward. So if you were to initiate the fast forward without the rollback, you would go from frame 5 to frame 10 in one frame. And it will look like a little skip in time. And so we have we do have the ability to fast forward now. So if I do the debug rollback test, this will load the state and fast forward at 10 frames. Boom. And you see the fist is already flung out. In the saved state, he was reeling back to hit. But if you do that and then fast forward 10 frames, which is what this test does, that's what you get. And then Ken gets hit, and he gets reeled back. But did you notice a problem there? When I roll back, first frame, Ken's not hurt. You don't even see the hurt box, or the hit box, because it's already expired. It's gone through that part of the animation already. It's bypassed. In the fast forward, it went from the punch being reeled back to the punch already been thrown. But here's the problem, Ken did not take damage during that fast forward. Unity does not let you fast forward collisions. You can fast forward basically anything else, but you cannot fast forward collisions, at least not to my knowledge. So that's where we are right now. What happened is it stored all the collisions for the last 10 frames in the fast forward segment, and it applies them all on the next frame. So if Ken got hit by 3 attacks, that's the frame that all 3 attacks will hit him on. Now that's unlikely to get hit by multiple attacks, but the problem is that if the attack's not processed until the frame that you come out of the fast forward, that's when his hit stun and all that starts. It's not already ticking down. It starts there. So we can't, bottom line, we can't rely on Unity to do our collisions. It's just not going to work right with the fast forward. So we gotta take matters into our own hands. So how the hell do we do that? Well, number one, we need to, we basically need to make our own collision collection code. So right now Unity does it for me, where it processes the collisions between frames, and it reports back, hey, this person hit that person, and this one did that. Now I take that information and I further process it to get, like, oh, projectile hits only do these things. You can't hurt a projectile with a physical attack, so we're going to ignore that collision. So there's all sorts of processing that I've already done on the back end. But the delivery system of getting that information to the objects in play, that's what Unity has been doing for me. And it's a common thing that people like about Unity. Oh, it does collisions for me. That's great. I don't have to do them. Well, it doesn't work when we want to fast forward, so we can no longer do that. So the first thing we need to do is to call for everything. I shouldn't type that here. Well, let's type this in something that's a bit easier. So one, call for collisions to be processed. We need to be able to call at any time. We need to be able to tell the system, hey, I need you to check collisions, alright? And then it says, okay, cool. And then it's going to go through and it's going to do the collisions and give you back the thing. So we need to be able to call this at any time. Yeah, I know. We got the EX music today. Yeah, Guile's theme. Strange sunset. It's very strange for a Guile's theme if you've come from the old school. But I hear like a lot of the people who like never played Street Fighter 2 love the shit out of this theme for Guile. And they go back to Street Fighter 2 theme and then they're like, what is this? This is weird. This is the meme song. I only know this is as the meme song. Oh, it's so weird. 2, we need to collect the information without applying the effects. And underneath that, we need to be able to test collision results before applying them. So this is actually two different things. We need to collect information from the entire system and store it, and then be able to filter it later. I'll say for filtering. But we need to be able to test a collision result before applying them. So what that means is, oh, we've got, we've got Ryu, and he's here as this box, and then we've got the hitbox, and this is, I don't know, Ken's arm, sure, whatever. You get the idea. So the collision's gonna happen here, right? I need to be able to say, hey Ryu, if I hit you with Ken's attack, what will happen? Too powerful goes with everything. Yeah, really. It has transcended nearly being Guile's. So we gotta say, this is Ryu and this is Ken. We gotta be able to say, hey Ryu, what happens if Ken hits you with this? Because maybe Ryu blocked it. Maybe Ryu's in an armored state, and he would have armored it. Maybe Ryu will get hit in the face. We don't know, but we need to be able to ask Ryu and him to be able to tell us what's going to happen before it actually happens. So when we test it, and it's like, oh, Ryu's going to armor that attack. Ryu's not actually armoring it yet, but we need to know if he does get hit with that attack, what will happen. The system currently doesn't do that. I can test for that, but I need to also apply it at the same time. But we also need that. So like, will it armor? Hit? Blocked? We need to know. Because this would be more pertinent for like when we get into trades and stuff, which the game already has trades in it. You can hit each other at the same time. But if you trade with an armor attack, it acts a little glitchy because it can't communicate that the attack was armored ahead of time, and the opponent will, I think the opponent will actually come out of hit stun later, either earlier or later than the person who was armored, so it's a little weird. It acts a little strange, that's a glitch. But I can't fix that glitch until we figure out what will happen before we apply it. 4. Priority system. So once we've collected stuff, we found out what's going to happen, we need to run a priority check on it. So what's that? Priority is a general term that can mean many things in fighting games. People use it to describe different things. When you say, oh, this attack has high priority, well, that could mean a few different things. So here, oh, it's not gonna. All right, here. This might be a bad example. Let me change. I'm gonna get Ryu here as the opponent. So Ryu's going to show you again as soon as he can. There. These two attacks, so priority in what I'm going to describe is priority of attack hits. So when two attacks clash or trade, which attack will connect and which attack will be blown through. So you can blow through normal attacks with a special attack. Special attacks, if they hit on the same frame, will go through any normal attack. This is something, if you played Street Fighter V, you're probably pretty familiar with. Also, light attacks will get beat out by strong attacks. That's currently how it works in Street Fighter, or in Pocket Fighter EX's system, and also in Street Fighter V's system. But special attacks, if they clash, have the same priority, so they will do a clashing effect, and that's what happens. So obviously, Ryu will do another Shoryuken immediately, but the reason that Ryu can recover quicker is because the first hit of Ken Shoryuken does not knock you up in the air. The light one will, but the heavy one is a grounded hit. So it's... Come on. They gotta get on the same frame to do it. Come on. There we go. Oh shit, I pressed the wrong button. I wanted to pause it. Oh, come on. I wanted to show you the... There it is. The recovery that Ryu has. It's because he's only hit by the first hit of Ken Shoryuken. See, he recovers first because he's still on the ground. So that's actually a bad trade for Ken. Trades are interesting because they look cool for one, but they give some interesting situations. I'm trying to trade with a Tatsu, which is hard, but should be possible. I don't know if I can get it to work. It's really hard with Ken's, because Ken's Tatsu is a little bit delayed in the air. I think Ryu's has a bit more priority in the air, although Ken's got better hit properties. He's just gonna blow through it. That's a little hard. But they're special attacks, so they can clash. It absolutely can happen. I'm trying to think. There's a certain setup with it, but I think there it is. Yeah, if I do the overhead at the right distance, you get it. So there it is. Because they're both special attacks, and they would have both hit. Sometimes people regard priority as in two special attacks, and one has more invincibility frames than the other, but that's not what I'm talking about. Talking about literal, both attacks the attacks will trade, but because of the priority system, if a jab trades with a fierce punch is going to hit and the jab's going to do nothing. So that's the kind of system that we need in place, which I have one in place, but it's limited, and you know, it could use some revisioning. And then 5, we need to deliver the results to the, we'll say fighters, but it could be projectiles also have to get the result and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much the, I guess 6, we'll say apply the effects of the collisions, because it doesn't explicitly state that in 5, it just delivers the information. And then 6 will actually apply the effects of the collisions. So, how we accomplish these things is very important. So, we can pick number 1, call for collisions to be processed. Well, we need some sort of hit system controller in that case, which actually may or may not exist at this point. Oh, is that? Is that what I called this thing? Yeah, that's what I called this thing. I don't know if I want to call it that. I'm afraid if I rename it, it might screw something up, but I don't know. Well, let's make a new part of the system. We can call it whatever we want. And if I decide to change the name, then we'll do that later. I'm not going to risk breaking all that on stream and be like, oh, well, this is going to take an hour and a half to fix. Sorry! You're just gonna see me staring at a screen mumbling for the next 40 minutes. Or 90 minutes. Where's hit system? I got it here somewhere. It's not in my here, hit system. Alright, what scripts do we already have here? Hit system controller, data arbiter, that was for the trades. So something to decide on what the trades are going to do. I'm going to take that functionality and roll it all into one thing here. Body space arbiter was a different one. I think I actually dismantled this one eventually. Only the body space one remained. Collision controller. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. I thought I started something with this. So I can tell it to simulate, and that goes through the simulation of the hitboxes. Of course, this doesn't quite work so well, so I tried to prototype something here. Yeah, I think I gutted it because it wasn't working the way that I needed it to. Alright, so this is the basic framework of that. So the call for collisions to be processed would be this function that I'm working on. So we'll just kind of pick up here. Connect all the hit system controllers. That's the link for all the fighters and projectiles for them to have hitboxes and to process hitboxes. The hit system controllers, like they're linked to that system. Patches them into the hitbox net. So we collect all the hitbox controllers. I think? No, we didn't collect them. Yeah, we're going to collect them into here. So, hit system. Check all the hit systems. We only want to take the active ones. So, why am I checking just the hitbox controllers? I gotta capitalize this properly. I'm terrible with that. Right now, all hitbox controllers. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna test them based on boxes and what else. Because so the hit system is basically a collection of all the boxes for a character. So the hit system controller will contain. So all these boxes, this hit, this projectile only, hurt box, these two hurt boxes. Oh yeah, the pink one, by the way, keeps them, I was gonna explain that, but I didn't. It just keeps them from getting too close to the screen. You can think of this as like a push box, but for the screen edge. That way that they don't go too far into the other character and they bounce off the other side of the attack. But that screen box, the push box, the hit box, the three hurt boxes, all that collected together is under the control of Ken's hit system controller. It has a handle on all the hit boxes here, 1 through 11. He doesn't need 11, I just kind of gave him what he needed. And here's, box 2, 4, 5, 7, 16, and 18 from his currently loaded data. That whole collection, all that's stored under this. But I guess I was thinking that just to check individual ones, you should be able to just test them as is. Because I will need access to the colliders that are inside of these objects. So they have, here, this box collider. Probably, but yeah, you can see it. You can see it when I open up the thing. You see the very thin green line? That's Unity's debug draw of the colliders. Obviously, I made them more visible in the game. But the main Unity debug stuff will show you that. They'll actually show you the collisions here with the arrows where things are heading. That's what it reports back, so you can see the last frames being done in real time. But I don't worry so much about that, because I just do that. So we want to capture all those boxes within each hit system. And and that's here. So hitbox controllers. Yeah, so we're looking at this particular hit system. We're going to loop through all the ones that are currently active. So if hit systems, hit system ID, or looping through on hit system ID, over and over. If this is not enabled, then continue. Essentially, that just says skip on to the next one. So this is really important for efficiency's sake. Let's say that when the match loads, Ken's Hadouken's Fireball is loaded into the stage, but it's set into an inactive state. It's hibernating. And it can't hurt anybody, you can't see it, it's just disabled. In that case, since Ken's Hadouken is disabled unless it is enabled, we don't want to bother processing that. It doesn't matter, he's disabled. What's he gonna hit? He can't hit anything. So, if the hit boxes are inactive, continue on to the next hit system. It's nothing to do with them, they're inactive. So we go on it. Now we can do the same thing here. I don't know if this here will tell us the same thing. Controller set or it's valid. It does not take into account whether or not it's active. So we're going to have to do that here too. Because once we get one hit system, a collection of hitboxes, we want to then look at each individual hitbox and add them to it. So some hitboxes are going to be enabled and some are going to be disabled, and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at the I think this might be able to tell us whether it's active or not. So is hitbox valid? Or it just says whether the ID is valid. Okay, we're gonna have to check that. So if the hitbox controller is not, is not enabled, this hitbox is disabled and won't process. Continue to the next. It's easy. And we want to check if it's valid. So if it's not valid, continue. Hitbox is not valid. Continue. Continue. There we go. Welcome everybody to Game Them Dyslexic, where I can't read or write, or talk, or do anything right. For the love of God, I don't know why anybody wants to know how I make shit, because it's all broken, busted, and misspelled. Okay, so if we have passed those checks, it's a valid hitbox, and it's enabled, we want to add it to our collection of hitboxes. The hitbox controller is .add, and we give it the hitbox. So, I should probably note here. So, look through each hit system controller, aka collection of hitboxes, and then for each collection of hitboxes, look at the individual boxes. Or look through. That'll keep the language the same. Look through the individual boxes. And then add this active valid hitbox to the list. Oh boy! coding sounds. Yeah, just like that. That's how you know shit's serious. Major nerding going on here. Okay, let's see. Let's put a region here. Collect boxes. That ends that process. Okay, let me think for a moment. The best way to go on from here. So the game currently has some what is called a processing profile, and I'll show what that is once it decides to compile. If it even compiles. I hope it compiles. Looks like it's alright. Move classes. Are they these reasons? No. What is that processing? Or is it, you know what, I bet it's inside. I bet it's inside general options. Yeah, here they are. I'm going to want to move these outside after. So I can give them tags most of the time. So processing profile does a few things. You don't have to call it a processing profile, I just called it a processing profile. So, process profiles. PP for short. Basically what it says is, what's the attacker box? What's the defender box? And are the fighters going to be aware of what's happening to them? So you can actually, well, let's say the poll box. I don't know if it's in here or not. This is the counter. Where's one where they're unaware? Oh yeah, the flinch box. So, yeah, let me show it. It's another type of hitbox. Damn, there's too many of them. Alright, when Ken throws out his kick, you don't see it. Of course you don't see it. Of course. Oh no, are they broken? I hope they're not broken. I really hope they're not broken. Let's see. We'll find out in a second here. I don't remember if it was in training options. Training mode settings. Lunchbox. Oh yeah, it still works. So, like in the old games, well in the new games too, if someone's attacking and they're defending, you'll get the flinch box. Or proximity guard or whatever it is. It's actually a type of hitbox in some games, including this one. I don't know, I honestly don't know why it's not showing up though. But it obviously exists because we're used guarding. Let's take a look at Ken's hitboxes here. We should be able to identify it. Oh yeah, the auto flinch box. So, oh, this is an off background to see it on, but you can kind of see the outline here. Here, let me change the stage and do that again. Oh, this will be good. This will be good. See the green box here? You see this thin outline of this green box? Actually, it looks blue here on the top, but there's this thin green box. Yeah, you should be able to see that on the screen. I'm looking over the preview monitor. That's the flinch box. So if that hitbox is touching Ryu, then he will do his proximity guard. And you'll see it went away just now, and Ryu came out of his proximity guard. So here's a good example where Ken casts that box out, but he actually doesn't know that it's happening. He doesn't need to know. It doesn't matter whether Ryu's guarding or not. You know, or doing the proximity guard animation. It's really just an animation effect. Where's it here? So this here, the flinch is oblivious, but the defender is aware that the flinch box is touching them because they need to know when they have to go into their flinching animation, their proximity guard. And then, oh yeah, so there's one for body space. If it contacts body space, it'll do it, and if it contacts a hurt box, it will also do it. So there's two profiles for that collision. This pretty much dictates, you know, what the collisions are, which ones are valid, and what happens. Not what happens, but whether or not they're aware. Are they hit only once? Is it once per unique? Which I don't think these ones are. Oh yeah, I guess they are. Supposed to be that. Whether friendly fire is allowed. So body spaces might have friendly fire on. But attacks won't. So here's once per unique. Oh, right, I'm sorry. This is off once per unique. So yeah, this continually hits every frame, send a signal that yes, you're being hit by the flinch box. There's the other flinch one. Here's the grab. There's only once per unique. So the grab will only happen once on one contact. And check for conflicts. So that's when you attack a grab. Both grab boxes hit each other. So this is just stuff that I programmed, stuff that I made to help you keep track of stuff. So we need to take these processing profiles into account when we do this. So it is part of general settings. So here, check box overlaps. Okay. Oh, typo. Hash end region. There we go. Okay. So I have to check for box overlaps. So there's sort of a three-step process here. One, we have to do the overlap check. So is this box overlapping anything else? Cool. All right. What did it overlap? And then two, we have to check to see if those boxes are actually hit boxes, because there are other types of collision boxes beyond the built-in, or beyond the system that I built. Unity has tons of collision objects, and we don't know if they're tied to fighters or if they're actually meant to be hitboxes in the game, if they're supposed to do damage. We don't know, so we have to check for that. Then we have to then we have to check the processing profile to see whether or not those two types actually do anything. And then we need to store that collision and let the characters know what happened, essentially. Or rather, I don't want to say it like that. Eventually, yes, we're going to let the characters know what happened, but we need to store a list of events per character. So Ryu overlaps Ken, and these 5 hitboxes overlap. We have to tell Ryu, hey, here's a list of shit that actually happened. Here's a list of stuff that's overlapping. And then, we'll get to applying it later, but we need to know that Ryu overlapped these things with these own hitboxes. And then Ryu's also going to overlap himself, and we're going to ignore those, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot to process out. But the basic idea is you have to segment this data into you know, we took Ryu's hitboxes and see what they overlap. All right, we have to make sure that that information is tied to Ryu, and that all of his player 1 Ryu, let's say specifically, not either of them, but just one of them. And we have to store that under his name, so to speak. I guess would be the best way to play it, or to say it. So, you know, actually, I'm regretting going into this part. I think we should just store the hit systems because they're per character. It might be better. So we'll cut that out of there. But we'll use it down here. So, yeah, let's do... Hold on, let me restructure this. I hate to have gone through that and said, oops, wait, no, we're not going to do that. Because if we're going to make sure that they're Ryu's boxes, you know, we don't have to do that. No, we can leave it. We can leave it. It's a little, it'll be a little different, but we'll leave it. We'll leave it. All this still stands for now. We don't have to do it specifically that way. Hitbox ID equals 0. Hitbox ID is less than hit all hitbox controllers count hitbox ID plus. So cycle cycle, yeah. Oh my god. Cycle, holy crap, I am tired. Through all the hitboxes collected and check for collisions. So each hitbox has a thing that says, hey, I'm from Ryu, so we can just check that in here and then put him in here. We need to make a new class here, so let's public class overlap data, I guess. And we'll get more specific. Hitbox overlap data. Sure. We can rename it later if we don't like it. And it will take in a public hitbox controller, public hit system controller. That's a hit system. And that basically says, oh, this is Ryu or this is Ken for player 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. That's their hook into the system, and each one has a unique one. So we can store that as their identifier. Then, what else do we need? We need what it hit. So, public box controller. Shit, what do we want? A list of them? Or do we want... Yeah, we can do a list, I guess. Or we can do an array. It comes down to whether or not I want to instantiate all this and then risk discarding it if there's no collisions. If there's no collisions, we don't give a shit about it. So I could just put a list down here, fill it up, and if anything happened to actually be in it, then we go ahead and put it into here as an array. Instead of being a list, it's a little more solid to work with. A little faster. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Collided with, we'll call it. And by default, be one of the size of 0. Actually, you know what? We don't even need to do that. I don't. Because we're just gonna set it or not set it, or we'll discard it. Yeah. Alright, so there's... Okay. We're gonna do two things here. We need two lists to go on. We're gonna have an actual C# list of hitbox collisions of these collider datas. We're gonna make one for every character. But then we want to also have a dictionary, a C# dictionary of this, and that ties... It's basically like an array, but instead of keying it on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, index numbers, you can key it on anything. So we can tie them directly to a specific character. And then we can look that up when we need to. So, the list of this hitbox overlap data. Hitbox overlaps, or overlap list. Equals new, hitbox overlap list. And then we need a dictionary. And it's going to want a key, and that's like, instead of having a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 like an array, we give it something. So it would be hit system controller. That'll tie it to a character. And then our hitbox overlap data. And this will be hitbox overlap it didn't say PP, it said dict, short for dictionary. I know everybody's gonna go fucking nuts. He said PP. He said PP! I heard him. So then we can sort them into both these lists. If we just want to run through the collection of all the shit, we use this one. If we want to pick out a specific one for a specific character, we use this one. And we'll just insert the same object into both. And you'll see how that works in a second. We'll call them collections. Make overlap collections. So the list... well, we don't. Hold on. First things first. Perform an overlap and check results. Alright, we're going to be naughty and we're still going to use part of Unity's systems for now, which eventually we're not going to want to do this, but just to be cheap and dirty and easy, we're going to want to do it. So... let's see what's in this one. We don't have any circle colliders or any of that shit. Right now we only have box colliders, which are nice, easy, efficient, specifically, which is why the old games use them. And that's all we really need for fighter games. In a different fighting game, like in an HD one, I might get into different shapes. I know some people get a little bent out of shape about that. Ease Laugh is one, actually. I can bring them up. I'm gonna do this off stream, I've learned. We'll do this off monitor. Ease Laugh 2. Let's see if we can get a picture of the hitboxes. Absolutely not. They don't even attempt to show the hitboxes. I know you can see the hitboxes. I don't know if it's a standard feature or if people hacked it in, but I think it's a standard feature. Well, I'll just simulate it. So say you've got your character and they're doing their fighting stance, but they've got kind of like a stance like this. And you got kind of fat legs there, but you get the idea. Big old legs. But the Ease Laugh hitboxes, instead of doing this, they literally do this. Essentially. They literally do that. Show us. Yeah, show us what's on the The internet browser? I don't think so. The last time I went to Twitter, you know what happened. But they're really like, they're not straight boxes. I think they're all quads that I've seen, which, you know, they don't have to be. But this one's like a pyramid shape. You know what I mean? They don't have to be just straight. Yeah, that's not straight. They don't have to be just like straight up and down like that. If I were to be programming, you know, a game with HD art or bigger sprites, I'd probably consider doing something like this. The reason that it probably wasn't done before, especially in the old days, is that doing a collision check on this is much more processing than it is just for boxes. Boxes are very easy. Non-rotated boxes. So if you got a diamond, now it's starting to get into this territory. You might as well use the same thing. But things that are completely straight, which I can't draw, but if I could, an overlap between those is very easy to detect algorithmically. It's very, very, very cheap to do that. So that's why the old games did it. And you don't have to do that anymore, but people are really attached to their square, unrotated hitboxes, and they get a little unhappy if they see something irregular. But that's besides the point. You could technically do that. And Unity, of course, has all the different shapes that you can do that with. And for right now, we're going to use that system. As slightly inaccurate as it's going to be, we will replace it. But for now, just to keep it quick and dirty. Filthy programming. So, let's see. Is that you? Come here. Come here. What are you doing? I don't know if you guys heard that. She's banging her tail against the wall. It's like, I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, oh, must be the dog's tail. What you doing? What? Yeah, she wants to go on the porch. It's cold out and I'm streaming. So we want to do an overlap box all. And basically we'll tell it the box point, size, angle. Where'd you go? Yeah, she ran away. She sat here laying here for a minute and she ran away. Okay, so the point, I'm assuming this works like, yeah, point and size. So the point's the center, and the size is how big it is, and so on and so forth. Since they're not rotated, we can get away with this really easy. We don't need to use angle. We'll be all good. So we need to first get hitbox dimensions. And we get them with a bounds. This is a Unity thing. It just holds like a height, width stuff. There's limitations to it, but I'm not going to get too much into it. It'll drag the thing out. Just know that bounds has information for non-rotated shapes. Hitbox bounds equals all hitbox controllers, hitbox ID. We're going in order. I think it's a box, right? Yeah, hitbox controller bounds. So it wants point, that means center. So hitbox bounds at center, hitbox bounds dot size, and angle of 0 because we're non-rotated. And this is going to send back a bunch of colliders that it's overlapping. I'll just say bar, that'll fill it in for us. Overlapped colliders. For int overlap ID 0, overlap ID is less than. I love this fucking song. EX had some great ass music, man. Oh wait, no, that. The overlap. overlap ID plus plus. So now, yeah, look through all the overlaps. So we want to get a hit system controller out of here. Actually, a hitbox controller. If we can find a hitbox controller, then we know it's part of the hit system. If we don't find one, then we just want to discard it. Because this could overlap any Unity constructed collision object. Doesn't matter what it is, but we need to look for a hitbox controller, which will be inside the same object. Might get angry about something. It's gonna be happy. Oh, it is happy. So if I run the game, and we take a look at Ken specifically, look at one of the hitbox. So here's what's going to collide with this Box Collider 2D. And since this exists in the same object as the hitbox controller, we can just search for that. So we go to the controller, and we'll say HBC for hitbox controller equals the overlap colliders overlap ID. We're looking at that one. You should be able to do a get component here. Yeah. And then hitbox controller. So if HBC there was no hitbox controller, continue looking at the list. There you go. That's our first test. So the next test would be, let's see. I don't have a link to the processing profiles here. Actually, I do. Man, this is super stupid roundabout, but this actually will work. This is ridiculous, but it's fine. All the hitbox controllers have a processing profile, so we can just lift it right out of here. I'm probably changed the way this works later, but this is how it works. So let's see. Oh, you know what that theme is? That's the Maximilian theme song. Can't have a EX playlist without that, right? Here, let me turn it up. Yeah. Shit's good. Max's stream is starting. I wish he streamed a little earlier, and I'd actually be able to catch up. Right. All hitbox controllers. I didn't see Max's reaction to it yet. I didn't have time to see it, but I saw the announcement, so this shit looked cool. Like, Leroy looks fucking great. Where he's got the dog and everything. Alright, so we want the processing profiles. Right, let's do general. Can I get general settings? Settings. Let's make sure settings actually exist first. No settings to get PP from. Shut up. Continue. Bar PP. Shut up. Can I just get the whole thing? I might have them locked away. But what I can do, this probably works better anyway, get a plug in my processing profile. Yeah, I can tell it what types, and I'll get something back. There was no link, shut up. Yeah, really. Poor bastards. Capcom wasn't the only one. Okay, so we'll pull the box types out here. Okay. It's gonna want the your box and their box. So box type. Box type. And then we need the opponent. Their hitbox controller. I can already name that to opponent HBC. Let's do this on another line. It's starting to get pretty long. So this is our box. And then our opponent's box type. So see here, the parameters are your box, their box. Your box, their box. So, if the processing profile doesn't exist, there is no PT, shut up, to handle this type of collision. Continue. Oh, probably have to check these all. Yeah. I don't have an implicit bool operator. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. It would take too long to explain. But it lets me to check to see if something is valid, just to say, hey, not valid? Or not that thing? Cool, alright, let's continue on. We're not going to deal with it. Just shorthand for this, basically. I'll have to type all that out. And you can do other checks, too. But I won't explain how that works. I don't have time for it right now. Maybe in a later episode. Okay, so now, at this point, we have valid boxes and a type of collision. Alright. What does this end up being? General settings, processing profile. I'm going to put that in here. So, I don't feel like digging it out again. General settings, processing profile. Shut up. Let's record the collision overlap. Alright, so we want to make one of these containers that we made hitbox overlap data, and we're just going to fill it in, essentially. So, hitbox overlap data. Hubbed equals new hitbox overlap data. So then our hubbed, or Habad, it's Habad. Our Habad hit system is this. This is us. Habad dot Habad. Oh, that's two H's. Okay. That's our hitbox. Us. Habad. processing profile. It's going to equal PP. Shut up. Bod, HBOD, and then collided with. Oh shit! You know what? Hold the F up. We only need to do some of this sometimes. In fact, we can weed this out here. We can weed this out already. Before we even get to this point, the settings, don't worry about it. Just, we can kill that here. So there's no hitbox settings to get. There's no settings for the processing profile, so we don't bother even adding it to the hitbox list. We can get rid of that step. That'll make it more efficient. The opponent hitbox control, we do have to do that there. But this here, now this has to be. Okay. No, I can't do that either. Oh man. Okay. I was gonna try to do something else. But this might be the better way to do it anyway. I'm not gonna make an array of this. I'm gonna make it a different type of array. Shit, no, that breaks the system. No, that's gotta be... Alright, see, this is where it gets complicated. It's where it gets very complicated. Okay. The problem is that we really need duplicates of data for this stuff. This should all be encapsulated in an overlap. In fact, I'm going to delete this. I want, this is getting complicated, but I really want to do it this way. Here's the problem. I need multiple things for every single overlap. I need what the hitbox was, what it collided with, what the processing profile was for each overlap. And then I have to collect those under the hit system to put into here. So I need a collection of a collection. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Because I still have to categorize these under who they came from. But I can't do that without making another... I'm making another class here. So public class, overlap collection. It's got to have a list of overlaps, which is this here. So it has a list of stuff for this. But it also has public hit system, controller, hit system. This will become our hitbox, collided with, and a processing profile. So now I have to, oh man. Now this has to come down here now. So instead of this overlap data, we want these overlap collections. That's going to contain the overlap data. Gets a little, I hope you're using the tank. If you're not using the tank, you're not playing right. You must understand. You tried the tank? The tank looks so fucked up. I can't believe that they picked Blitz tanks. Out of all the characters in Akatsuki Blitzkampf, they picked the fucking tank. What the fuck? And it worked. Can't tank good? I can't imagine that it's a very straightforward character. I imagine it takes different kind of thinking for that. Alright. So we're gonna have to make this hitbox collection. Make a collection to store things in. So hitbox, or say overlap collection. There's new overlap collection. Overlap collection dot hit system. It's going to be equal to hit system controller from our current class. Hey, the tank worked. The tank was a total fucking meme character. Total meme character. And that shit worked. Like, they really knocked it out of the park with that. Everybody's like, what the fuck is that? this takes up the whole fucking screen. Yes, it does. Welcome to Blaze Blue Tag Battle. Get fucked. And that shit was everywhere. Oh, that was ingenious on their part. There's no fault in the way they handled it. That's for sure. Alright, so we're gonna make an overlap here. We're gonna set our hitbox to the hitbox processing profile and collided with HBC, opponent HBC. Now we need to take this and add it to the overlap collection overlaps add, because we know it's a good overlap. So we're really just collecting data at this point. And then we can process the overlaps after. One of my friends was hyped by just seeing the skull, but was super pissed when I told him it was a tank. What was he expecting? What did he think it was? I mean, not that he would have expected it was the tank, but like, what did he think it was before you told him it was a tank? Okay, so it's possible that through this whole process that this thing didn't overlap anything. So when we're done, if the overlaps.count is equal to 0, there were no overlaps. Doesn't make sense to store this with no data. Continue. Again, I can never spell continue. Continue. Skip its inclusion. I think that'd probably be the best way to go about this. So if you get past that, then we want to go into the hit overlap list like we created before, the list in the dictionary. And we want to add it to the list. And then hitbox overlap. Oh, time's up. Okay, we'll finish this part and then that'll be it for tonight. We have to add it with our hitbox controller. Or, I'm sorry, the hitbox hit system controller. Hit system controller. We're identifying the character and then adding the overlap to that. So again, we can search through them without any context as to who it came from, without checking inside of it. Or we can just say, hey, I want reuse. Just give me reuse. And that's what the dictionary does. I tell you, man, this shit's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. We've barely even collected anything. At least we've gone over the concept, so we've got that. But coding takes a while. This takes a lot of time. But now, assuming that actually works, it looks fine. It's simple enough, relatively. We've got a collection of all the valid collisions, all the potentially valid collisions up to this point. So things that have a profile that says that they do connect and they will have some sort of effect that we need to check for. We've got those lists now. The next part will be to actually go through the lists using the processing profiles and actually trying to test to see if they're good or not. Or rather, test to see what will happen if we actually enact that function. And that's a more complicated bit there. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. And so we'll be back next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more Pocket Fighter EX programming. And we'll pick right up where we left off. I'll probably have some time to progress things in the meantime. And maybe we'll have more animations to show or something by then. More Iori stuff. Well, we gotta get through collisions first. Otherwise the GGPO ain't gonna work. So, given that, we hit the button. There's the sign off. So we are Patreon supported. And on the Patreon we do have things like early builds of this as well. I put up weekly builds when I can. At this point it's a little in flux because of all the big changes happening. It's like, oh, I could put this build up, but kicks don't work anymore. That's not fun. Do you really want that? And I could, but we do weekly and monthly builds of this project and the other project on Thursdays, and we get code samples, got all that good stuff, and it supports my personal efforts in this and the stream. And we've got top patrons to read off. So we've got Zombie Killer, we got Miguel A. Tabasco, we've got Corporal Chungus, Jerry Berry, Taryn Williams, AJ, and Bryce Nagali. So thank you extra much. And special shout out to AJ, who I noticed before I started the stream because I had to reinstall stream labels. He went ahead and just gift subbed like 6 gift subs to like some of the regular viewers. So that's super cool. That was super cool of him. So I have to give him an extra super shout out for that. So thank you very much, man. That was cool. And we'll be back, like I said, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday. That's the 16th. On Thursday, we'll be doing the platforming game. That's the 12th, same time. And Saturday... Yeah, we didn't get to do Star Tropics this last weekend because Amber got sick. So we'll do Star Tropics. We'll play Star Tropics on Saturday. At some time. I usually like to start them earlier on Saturday, so we can actually get through something. So that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys later. Have a good one and scrub out.